Amara stood in the heart of her small, stylish apartment in Paris, surrounded by sketches, fabrics, and the trappings of a life immersed in fashion. The late afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows, casting warm golden light over her work table. She was in the middle of sketching a new design, her pencil moving fluidly across the paper, when her phone buzzed, breaking her concentration. A notification from the building's concierge service flashed on the screen. "A package has arrived for you." Amara wasn't expecting anything, but curiosity got the better of her. She set down her pencil, wiped her hands on her jeans, and headed downstairs. The package was small, wrapped in plain brown paper with no return address. The handwriting on the label was unfamiliar, and the name, Amara Okafor, was written with a careful, almost deliberate script. She frowned, turning the package over in her hands. Her heartbeat quickened. It felt like a message from the past. Back in her apartment, Amara sat down at her dining table, the package in front of her. The room was quiet, the ticking of the clock suddenly loud in her ears. She carefully peeled back the paper, revealing a small wooden box, intricately carved with symbols she hadn't seen since she was a child. The sight of them made her heart skip a beat. These were the symbols of her grandmother's village. Amara's hands trembled slightly as she opened the box. Inside, resting on a bed of deep red velvet, was a necklace, an heirloom passed down through generations of her family. The pendant was a stunning piece of craftsmanship made of gold and emerald, shaped into a symbol that was both beautiful and mysterious. It was the same necklace her grandmother had worn on special occasions, a piece of jewelry that seemed to radiate a sense of history and power. Nestled beside the necklace was a folded piece of paper yellowed with age. Amara unfolded it carefully, her eyes scanning the familiar handwriting. It was a letter from her grandmother. "Dearest Amara," the letter began, "if you are reading this, then I have passed on, and it is time for you to have this. This necklace holds the key to our family's history. Protect it well, for there are those who would do anything to possess it. Do not trust easily, my child. The shadows of the past are long, and they reach further than you can imagine." Amara's breath caught in her throat. Her grandmother had always been a woman of wisdom, with an air of mystery that had fascinated and comforted Amara as a child. But there had always been secrets too, things unsaid, hinted at only in the most cryptic of stories. And now, it seemed, those secrets were hers to uncover. She lifted the necklace from the box, holding it up to the light. The emerald glinted, casting a green glow across her hand. It was heavier than she remembered, as if it carried the weight of the generations before her. Her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. Protect it well, but protect it from what? That night, Amara couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over her. The necklace, now lying on her bedside table, seemed to pulse with a quiet energy. She tossed and turned, her dreams filled with fragments of memories, her grandmother's voice, the stories of old, and the shadowed figures that haunted those tales. She woke several times, her eyes drawn to the necklace, as if expecting it to move or disappear. It felt like a connection to her heritage, a piece of home she hadn't realized she was missing, but it also felt like a warning. When morning came, the city was still wrapped in the quiet of dawn. Amara slowly pulled herself out of bed, her eyes gritty from lack of sleep. She reached for the necklace, intending to hold it once more, to feel the connection to her grandmother. Her fingers grasped at air. She froze, her hand hovering above the empty table. The necklace was gone. Panic surged through her, and she frantically searched the table, then the floor, hoping it had merely fallen during the night. But the necklace was nowhere to be found. Heart-pounding, Amara's gaze darted around the room, searching for any sign of an intruder. The window was slightly ajar, a cold breeze slipping through, but there was no sign of forced entry, No indication that someone had been there, but someone had. Someone had taken it. She stumbled back, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The heirloom, the last connection to her grandmother, was gone, stolen in the night by someone who knew its value, perhaps even more than she did. Amara's mind raced. Who would do this? How did they know? The warning in her grandmother's letter echoed in her ears, louder now, more urgent. Do not trust easily. She felt a wave of guilt and fear. She had barely had the heirloom in her possession for a day, and it was already gone. How could she have been so careless? But underneath the guilt was something stronger. Determination. She wouldn't let this thief get away with it. She wouldn't let her grandmother's legacy slip through her fingers. The police were of little help. They filed a report, but to them it was just another break-in, another stolen piece of jewelry in a city full of such crimes. To Amara, though, it was so much more. It wasn't just a necklace. It was her family's history, her heritage, and now it was her responsibility. She decided to take matters into her own hands. She wasn't sure where to start, but she knew one thing: she wouldn't rest until the necklace was back in her hands. The memory of her grandmother, the weight of her words, and the mystery of the heirloom propelled her forward. Amara reached out to friends and contacts in Paris, those who might have connections in the art and antique world, hoping for a lead. Days passed in a blur of phone calls, meetings, and dead ends. Each night, she returned to her apartment, more exhausted than the last, but more determined. She could feel the necklace's absence like a physical ache, a piece of herself torn away. Then finally a breakthrough. A name whispered to her over coffee in a dimly lit cafe. An art dealer in Brussels, a man known for dealing in rare and valuable African artifacts. Amara didn't hesitate. She booked a train ticket that afternoon, her heart racing with the possibility that this could be the lead she needed. As she boarded the train to Brussels, her thoughts were a whirlwind. She knew she was stepping into a world she didn't fully understand, chasing shadows and secrets that had been hidden for generations. But she also knew she couldn't stop. Not now. Her grandmother had trusted her with this task, with this legacy, and she would see it through, no matter what it took. And as the train sped towards Brussels, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that this journey was only just beginning, that the missing heirloom was just the first piece of a puzzle far larger and more dangerous than she had ever imagined.